According to official records, he carried out the executions of tens of thousands of people alone. He was one of the most loyal executioners of the Stalin era, the person with the highest number of personal executions in history. How was this possible? How could a system assign such a task to a single individual? Vasily Mikhailovich Blokhin. He was born on January 7, 1895, in a village near the Vladimir region of the Russian Empire, as the child of a poor peasant family. His childhood was difficult. At the age of 10, he worked as a shepherd. Later, he moved to Moscow and worked there as a bricklayer. When World War I broke out, he joined the army in 1915. He served in the Tsarist army and was wounded on the front. After the war, the 1917 revolution occurred. Blokhin sided with the Bolsheviks. In 1921, he joined the Communist Party. That same year, he entered the Cheka, the Soviet secret police. The Cheka was the first security force of the revolution. Blokhin rose quickly within it. His loyalty and discipline caught the attention of his superiors. By 1926, he was put in charge of a special division of the OGPU, the successor organization to the Cheka. This division carried out the regime's most secret missions. Blokhin earned Stalin's direct trust. He was now one of the top execution officials of the Soviet system. These years marked the beginning of his career. But his real rise would come in the 1930s. What set Blokhin apart from others was not his intelligence or ideological depth. The traits that distinguished him were not speaking, not asking questions, and carrying out any given order without question. For the Soviet security apparatus, people like this were not dangerous. They were ideal, because totalitarian systems need obedient people more than intelligent ones. The machinery of the state. By the mid-1930s, the Great Purge began in the Soviet Union. This period lasted from 1936 to 1938. Under Stalin's orders, millions were arrested and executed. Blokhin played a key role in this process. He headed the Special Execution Unit of the NKVD, the People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs, at their Moscow headquarters. In 1935, he was promoted to Major General. He carried out Stalin's direct orders. He executed high-profile figures. For example, former Bolshevik leaders like Zinoviev and Kamenev. Then Yagoda, the former head of the NKVD, and afterward, his successor Yezhov. Military leaders were also targets. Marshal Tukhachevsky and other generals were executed by Blokhin's unit. These executions took place in the basement of the Lubyanka prison, in rooms specially designed for carrying out executions in secret. These rooms were prepared specifically for executions. They were soundproof. The floors were slightly sloped. Blokhin had mechanized every detail. Choice of weapons, working hours, the order of moving the corpses, everything was routine. Blokhin carried out his duties with loyalty. He received awards from Stalin, including the Order of the Red Banner. These years were the peak of his career, but they were also the darkest period of the regime. During this time, Blokhin became less of an executioner and more of a function of the state. He did not act on his own will, but followed the continuity of the system. The Great Purge was a time when not individuals, but mechanisms operated. The Great Purge affected all layers of society, and Blokhin became an important part of this system. But this loyalty was preparing not only others' deaths, but also his own. The Katyn Massacre. In the spring of 1940, the Soviet leadership targeted thousands of prisoners from Poland. This event is known as the Katyn Massacre. In total, about 22,000 Poles were executed by the Soviet NKVD. The decision was made on March 5, 1940, by Stalin and the Politburo. The executions were planned on Lavrenti Beria's suggestion. Blokhin was one of the key figures in this operation. He was specifically responsible for prisoners at the Ostashkov camp. Between April and May 1940, for 28 consecutive days, he carried out continuous executions. Blokhin worked in a specially prepared room at the NKVD headquarters in Kalinin. This room was pre-measured, its lighting carefully set and completely isolated. Before beginning the executions, Blokhin donned his long leather apron, put on gloves, usually used a pistol, and prepared to sustain the same rhythm for hours. According to official records, Blokhin personally executed about 7,000 people. This number is considered the highest personal execution count in history. Executions were conducted at night. Each night, hundreds of people were executed one after another. Each prisoner was brought into the room alone, their identity checked one last time, and executed within seconds. The lifeless bodies were immediately removed, and the room was cleaned quickly to leave no trace behind. This process was carried out as a systematic operation by the NKVD. Blokhin received awards after completing his duties. The Katyn Massacre resulted in a total of 22,000 victims. Most of them were Polish army officers, police officers, and intellectuals. Blokhin's role in this event made him the official with the most personal executions in history. This massacre is one of the darkest chapters of the Soviet regime, and Blokhin remained one of its most loyal enforcers. Yet history would show that absolute loyalty is never without consequences. Katyn was not just an execution operation, but a systematic annihilation of a generation. And Blokhin was at the silent center of this destruction. The cost of loyalty. Stalin died on March 5, 1953. This event was a major turning point in Soviet history, because the system no longer needed the men it had created. Blokhin was forcibly retired immediately after Stalin's death. The official reason was health issues. After Lavrenti Beria's fall in 1953, his situation worsened. The structure of the NKVD changed. Nikita Khrushchev's de-Stalinization policies began. In November 1954, Blokhin was stripped of his major general rank. Khrushchev did not deem him worthy of general status due to his involvement in mass executions. All his medals and titles were revoked. His pension was cut. He was left alone and developed an alcohol problem. Rooms he once commanded were now closed to him. The phones did not ring. Visitors no longer came. The state quietly pushed the man who had once demanded absolute loyalty outside the system. In his final years, he mentally deteriorated. He died on February 3, 1955, in Moscow at the age of 60. He left behind no defense, no letter of remorse, and no explanation. As he had lived silently, he died silently. According to official records, the cause of death was suicide. However, personnel files also listed it as a heart attack. He is buried at Novodevichy Cemetery in Moscow. After Khrushchev's era ended, his titles and medals were posthumously restored in the late 1960s. Today, even his gravestone shows him as a Soviet general in uniform. Blokhin's legacy represents the darkest face of totalitarian regimes. He was not an ideologue, he was not a planner, but he was an executor. And for totalitarian systems, the most indispensable figures are always people like him. A system capable of turning an ordinary person into the greatest executioner through the power of the state. This story reminds us how weakness and loyalty can turn into disaster. History must not forget such figures. because similar systems can emerge again. Who creates the executioners? Vasily Blokhin was an ordinary peasant child, but a totalitarian system made him one of the officials with the most personal executions in history. Power, when unchecked, can transform even the most ordinary people. When loyalty trumps conscience, disaster is inevitable. Blokhin was a figure who brought the end to tens of thousands of people alone. But the real culprit was the regime that created and maintained the system. History must remember these events to prevent repetition, and we must not remain silent when we see the signs of similar systems emerging. Because history shows that these systems first create their executors, not their victims. See you in another video.